What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. Today's episode journey is being guided by none other than your host, Austin J, or hallucinodream, if you know him from the gaming community. And today's topic is on positivity and keeping a positive mindset. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and enjoy this episode. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for those who are returning, those who may be just, this may be your first episode. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Today we're talking about a positive mindset and keeping positivity active in your mind and the benefits and how that plays a role in your life or in life in general, and the decisions, how it affects maybe your decisions and what it could, some of the effects it could have negatively if you do not. So I'm recovering from a cold. I'm still congested, so you're going to hear that. I apologize. Also, I'm aware that we did miss last week's episode, but that's okay because now this week is the third week of October, which means, hearing my clicking, it means that we're back on track. So now the first and third weeks will be right back to being the episodes with topics, and the second and the fourth weeks will be the follow-up and question and answer. And any fifth week that comes in will be, and I'm talking about Wednesdays, any fifth week of the Wednesday that comes in will be a fun-filled chit-chat, answer any other questions that may have come in type episode. So looks like there's a fifth Wednesday in November, so we'll see an episode there. Anyways, I feel it. I believe we've talked about this in one of our past episodes. You can go back and reference that as well. Maybe you're going to add something new in regards to positivity, the positive outlook, how it can affect your decisions and mood, and what could possibly be done to help you. I know this is something that I struggled with early on, and I would have never started my health and wellness routine, my fitness routine. I would never really got past the initial hump of the fitness journey, where you go in. This is what happened to me. This happens to some people. You go in, you work out, for 1 or 2 weeks, and you're feeling real good. Then the third week you just start to burn out, and you're not feeling it. You're not seeing any progress already, that's a topic for another day. I think I've talked about that before, but if you're not holding a positive mindset, it's going to make it much more difficult to continue. It happened to me several times before it stuck. So, a positive. Now, I'm not saying you have to be positive 24/7, right? There are obvious situations where, you might just be unable to hold a positive mindset. Like something sad happens, right? It's hard to be positive, at least temporarily, when something sad or traumatic happens, right? But there's always going to be something positive you can find at the end of the tunnel, really. You just have to look there, and you have to keep in mind. This is where people, I think, slip up, is that you have to keep in mind that you have to be positive. Like you have to kind of remind yourself until it becomes habit. So before it becomes habit, you kind of have to remind yourself to be positive. So if you catch yourself not being positive, your initial, especially if you haven't really turned to positivity or kept a positive outlook. I'm saying that word a significant amount. I'm going to try to stop. Often in your life, and I just lost my train of thought because of how many times I was saying it. I needed like a word counter here on, if you're watching on YouTube on screen. But um, if you're not used to turning to that modality of thinking, you might not be able to sway yourself back into that mindset. Now, if you until you create a habit, right? So let's talk about some things that can happen in a negative mindset. Let's use my fitness journey as an example. I started working out and worked out with a buddy. If you listen to my past episodes, you know that's how I got started. Um, excuse me. He fell off a little bit, and then I kept going. And then I started to get kind of, I would say, my motivation was lacking because he wasn't there. I wasn't seeing results because my body type takes a lot longer to build muscle. I don't know the body type off the top of my head. I don't 100% remember I think there's 3 different body types, in combination with a couple other maybe, but I know it took a long time for me to actually physically see any muscle growth or any progress. And because of that, I started to lose some motivation. And initially, I was getting kind of like a negative mindset. Like a lot of people do. Why continue? I've been working out for 2 months and I haven't really seen very much progress. I do feel better, right? But I'm not really seeing the muscle growth that I'm looking for, and that's what I was looking for at the beginning, was to build muscle, right? Because I was very, very skinny. I'm still very skinny. That's not even the term I'm looking for. Was a word like it was like a twig, right? And skin and bones. That's what people used to tell me. Like I was skin and bones. You could see all my ribs, my rib cage, and whatever. I was very skinny. I had no meat on my bones. I wanted to gain some meat on my bones. I wasn't seeing that. And, like, why continue is what I was thinking. And then, I realized that there is a positive in there, right? What was the positive that I said? Was that I was feeling better overall. Now, I'm not seeing those initial quote unquote gains yet. After 2 months, but I am feeling better. And because of that, now I'm in a positive mindset. Well, I'm feeling better overall. I might not be seeing stuff, but let's think a little more into it. While I've been at the gym for 2 months, have I been going up in my weights? Have I been increasing weight as I've been lifting? Well, yeah, I have, because I'm logging everything, so I know I have. So my weight's going up. There's 2 positives. So I'm feeling better, and I am putting up more weight in my exercises, in my lifts that I'm doing, which are 2 very, very positive benefits. And now I'm looking at the positives, right? I switched from thinking about a negative in regards to not physically seeing the progress I was making. And this is specific to my situation. Now, I know a lot of people go through the same situation. And I think I've talked about this in other episodes, but this goes for many other situations. You can almost always find a positive in a situation, right? But me changing my thought, and what I want to add here was, prior to me getting into my health and wellness routine, prior to me getting into health and fitness, my attitude was very poor. I almost never came out of that negative mindset. And I would have, had I not, really realized that's what I was doing, I probably would have stopped at that 2-month mark, right? Not even thought about the benefits of me feeling better, me putting up, increasing my weight as I was lifting. Excuse me. But before getting into my routine, I did realize that my mindset was overall negative, and that was something I needed to change. So that was something I was working on as well, right? So I did realize that's something I feel like some people get stuck in a rut, which is what I was for many, many years. you get stuck in a rut. Sometimes you don't even realize that's the rut you're in. Sometimes you don't even realize that the negative um, aspect, the negative outlook on situations, is what is, you know, hanging over you and loitering, and because it becomes habit. That's what it was for me. So I had to break the habit, and changing that outlook on that 2 month mark where I wasn't gaining any muscle, but I was focusing on the positives, kept me going. I said, well, I'm putting on more weight. So I changed and said, well, I'm going to put on muscle. I will put on muscle. Let's, and I changed my goals here. We talked about goals as well, and changing your goals often so that you can, you know, you don't get burned out or bored, I guess you could say. Plus life changes, so your goals should adapt. But I said, well, let's see if I can continue to work out and just increase my bench press, right? Something a lot of people do in the gym. Let's see if I can continue to set personal records every, what did I say, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And it could be by just adding 5 pounds onto that bench weight, right? And 5 pounds is a lot. 5 pounds when you're setting a PR is a lot. So change that, and then you know I met a good friend in the gym at the time as well, and he told me he had very 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 big muscles. Right, his arm was the size of my head. So uh, this was a very jacked guy, I would say. Had a lot of muscle. He knew what he was doing. He's been working out for. He was older than me. He was working out for many, many, many years. He taught me a lot of different workouts, but he also told me that it took him about a year and 2 months or something before he actually even started. He said he was just as skinny as what I was, no muscle whatsoever, and it took him a long time. But he knew that he was going to eventually, once he got through that plateau of not physically seeing any muscle, it was just going to, he was going to gain that muscle. The muscle was going to start to expose the goal. We're going to start calling it the goal, and it was going to build from there. And I took that as another positive, and it did take another 5 months. At month 7 or 8, I think, is when I really started seeing progress, and I couldn't be happier that I turned to that positive mindset. I turned to the positive outlook. I looked into the positivity over the negativity. I couldn't be happier that I did that, and stuck through it to pursue my health and wellness journey. And from there, it really turned to health and wellness because I started eating even better. I started running, competing in the Spartan race. Excuse me. Specifically training for the Spartan race. I qualified for the elite wave. A lot of great things came out of me changing, simply changing an outlook on a situation from negative to positive. And I wanted to talk about that because we're weaning into the winter here. And a lot of people, this is sort of unrelated, but the sun isn't going to come out very often, and the lack of vitamin D gives people, and the sun exposure and the heat, of course, the cold, very beneficial, but the cold puts people in what my good buddy always says every single year. Says he has, it's SAD, sad, right? Because people get sad during the seasonal something depression, seasonal, I don't know, but it's basically the what people say during the winter seasons when the sun goes down. That goes down, but doesn't come out as often. And that could put people into more of a negative outlook than positive, with lower motivation because maybe you used to like working out outside. Maybe your cardio routine was outside. And that is great. I absolutely love the wilderness. I like being outside more than being inside, but it changes perspective, right? And I think it's important to make sure that even through the winter season, you, one, try to get as much sunlight as possible, but keep your positive outlook. Keep your outlook positive. Try to think, anytime you're getting negative, try to stop and think for a second and remember that I need to change this to positive. Can I change this to positive? And what can I do to change it to a positive? And only think on that. And as you continue, it'll become more and more of a habit. And these good habits are what make lifelong changes and lifelong good habits, right? So positive outlook will turn into a good habit elsewhere, such as a fitness journey like I have been on. So I think it's incredibly important for that. This goes not just for health and wellness, but it goes for maybe a career. Maybe you're looking for a career, or you want to go to school, or continuing education, or anything. You don't know if you should pursue a girl or a guy you like, right? Think of the positives, right? And there's always going to be a negative somewhere, but there's always positive in a situation. So I think it's the utmost important thing. I will say this over and over. I think the mindset is one of the most powerful tools to get your goals and where you want to be, right? Your goals accomplished and where you want to be and what you want to do. Your mindset really helps with absolutely everything, and it most certainly helps with health and wellness. So I'm not going to drag this episode out too much longer. I do thank everybody for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you're hearing, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate it. All the links are over here on the left. If you're listening on the podcast platform, all the links are in the description, as they are on YouTube as well. Give us a like, a follow on our social media. A good rating on the podcast platforms if you would like. If you have any questions on anything you heard, if you have anything to add that you would like me to add to next week's episode, by all means, let us know on any of the social media outlets here on YouTube, on the podcast platform, and we'd love to answer them next week. I hope to see everybody next week for the follow-up and question and answer, and thank you everybody again for tuning in. Bye.